shoulder on the here. And then down on a nice big V near the second, third vertebra. Slight reaction there, I expect that from my old girl. Down the collar groove, hands on her neck, down in a sore motion back up. Good girl. Down in the muscle here, so it's on the inside of the muscle. Good girl. Stand up. In a flicking motion back up towards the assessor. Good girl. Inside there's a muscle here, so we're going underneath that muscle and flicking. Good girl. Her shoulder, we're creating a square. It's in the middle of that. So we're looking at a cross motion right in the center of that shoulder area where the brand would be. Good girl. Now we're going along to the bladder meridian, falling into a hole here. My triangle is going to be the hip joint on an equal angle triangle, so it'd be there. So it'd be here, the bladder, that meridian there. So it'd be a line going across. Right, we test in a nice long strokes. Good girl. And then going from that meridian, going from that marker to the top marker, up to the rump in one motion, and then back. Probably on an angle, actually coming backwards this way. It's probably more of a direct. Down the poverty line, holding my hand on her and my arm in a flicking motion down the groove. Twice is enough, she didn't react to that. And then there's a motions here, soaring motion. Good girl. Her hip joint is here, so you can feel that. So the circle would be around the hip joint. There's a line under it, so you'd be testing under. And then we're going over the top. Good girl. From the rump to the hip is here, her rump is here. So we'd be going, and then two spots would be falling in. And watching that rump rise and fall. Her last rib, anatomy wise, is here. And in a mare like she is, be mindful of a reaction just on the last rib. And then finally, underneath the horse, from navel running backwards. And no reaction there. Good girl. Go on the other side. Good girl. So making sure the halter's forward. There's a mark just up here. Twice is probably enough. And then a nice big V from here down, which she did slightly react to on the other side and slightly there. Her collar groove is running down here. So it's running up in a soaring motion, up and down. Good girl. Now her muscle for her is here. So it's in a flicking motion in there and up towards the assessor. Good girl. And then up to her here. And there's you can feel a ligament and muscle there. So this goes underneath that and just flicks. Twice is probably enough. Good girl. Now her shoulder in a square, and it'd be in the center. So you would do it like a cross, center, and then like a mark across there. Good girl. So we're going to fall into the bladder meridian, which starts here, goes along to the hip, which is here, and we need to do a triangular area. So that would be sitting here, and that would run up to her bottom. So nice big strokes along. Good girl, or a bit sore there. And then we would go along up to the rump in one sweeping motion, and then back across her rump. The next motion is her hip, and you can feel her, actually no, we do the poverty line first. So going down, her poverty line is actually running here, down the line, holding my hand on her, and then it's a sorry motion from here, here, and then here. Good girl. Coming back up to check the hip. So if there was a reaction here, you could test that in the hip area. So it says punch the hip, which is there, circular around the hip joint itself, under the hip joint, and then above the hip joint we fall into a hole here. Good girl. From the pelvis, rump to the hip, there's that line going to there, so we'd go along and fall into a spot middle, watch the rump rise and fall, and a spot in here. Last rib is here and center. Well, she's liking that. And finally, underneath the midline, going to navel to center, and she did slightly react to the front. What a good old girl.